So who am I? Hello, my name is Veer Sikand. I'm a junior wildlife photographer and videographer. I'm 13 years old. I love animals and I've grown up with them all my life in Tanzania and in Kenya. My family have called me the bush baby since I was a kid because I've been in the bush basically my entire life. I'm passionate about wildlife and conservation, and I want to create awareness for wildlife by using my photos and videos to help. Principles of lighting. So here are 3 things to know about manual photography. Automatic, so there are 2 different types, manual and automatic. Automatic is where the camera senses and basically changes the lighting for you, but manual photography, you personally change it to your preference. So the 3 main principles are ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. ISO is the amount of sensitivity the camera has to the light available. Shutter speed is the time the shutter is open to expose light into the sensor. And aperture, measured in f-stop, is a hole in the lens in which the light travels into the camera body. So all of this is related to light. Sunrise and sunset. So I thought I'd start off with one of my favorite topics about wildlife photography, sunrise and sunsets. I love sunrise and sunset because of the beautiful colors that you get to see and the fact that it's so easy to get silhouettes. So the photo on the left is sunrise over Hyena Dam in Nairobi National Park. With the city in the misty background, and the sun. I love the reflection and with the ripples over the dam, and yeah, I think it's one of my favorite sunrise images. That's why it's here. And for sunsets, this is one of my first images as well, of in the Masai Mara with the sunrise, the sun setting, and some Ethiopia on the horizon, which are now silhouettes. And this was my first ever sunset photo I've ever taken. So I thought it'd be nice to put some old memories from back in 2018, I think. So yeah. Highlights and shadows. So highlights are the light areas of an image, and shadows are the darker areas. In this image, the dust, the water, and the water splashes are the highlights, while the wildebeest and the bank or the cliff faces are the shadows. This mix gives you a very dramatic photo, and I think it's good for competitions and stuff. Next is high key and low key. So this is a very creative technique. So high key creates less contrast between the darker and lighter areas by increasing the lighting, while low key creates more contrast between the darker and lighter areas by reducing the lighting. Long exposure images at night. So long exposure means you set your shutter open for a longer amount of time. This could be a few minutes. That lets more light into the sensor. These photos were taken just at night around 8 o'clock. And in this photo, the natural light is coming from the moon to illuminate the mountain. This is around 8 o'clock. I set my shutter for this open for 30 seconds, if I remember correctly. And basically, the moon rose and the light illuminated the entire frame. And the photo on the right is an up-close shot of the moon, not long exposure, but I thought it was relevant to see. Long exposure images, light painting. So long exposure photography can also be used to create cool line patterns by using car lights driving down the highway or just lights in person in general. You can use a light source and wave it in front of the camera, and it will create cool patterns. But remember, don't be afraid to be creative. So the photo on the very right was Christmas lights, and I just dangled them about in front of the camera just out of curiosity, and it turned out like a maze, which I think is cool. It describes my personality. The photo on the left was we're driving down a road with lots of potholes, and those were the street lights. So the way whenever we hit a pothole, the light source moved down in the frame. So I just drove along, and it was like bouncing up and down basically. And the photo in the middle, I borrowed my mom's wine glass and stuck a yellow filter on I think her phone light, and just waved it around in the back of behind the glass of wine, and I think it turned out it was like a cool way to do product photography, which isn't monotonous. Silhouettes. This is my personal favorite slide. So the definition of a silhouette is a solid black image against a bright background. Another dramatic style which I use pretty often. So I love to take silhouettes at sunrise and sunset because of the beautiful colors that you can achieve. Depth depth of field. Of the photo that's in focus. So this is shallow depth of field. Only one part of the frame is in focus and the rest is blurry. So like a sharp foreground and a blurry background and vice versa. And for number 2 is deep depth of field. Everything in the frame is in relative focus. So the subject and the background are both in focus. So this is garden photography. This was a leaf, I think, at a house. And the background was green grass. And next is bouquet. So bouquet gives you a soft out of focus look where the subject is in focus and the background is an out of focus blur, which pleasantly enhances the subject in the image by making the background hazy. So for bouquet, you need something in the background of the subject, and you also need a narrow depth of field to create an effective bouquet. Composition. So composition tells your story. This is the three cheetah cubs in Nairobi National Park. The way I've framed it was that this cheetah here was staring in this direction, so I gave it space, while those two are staring back almost towards the city, so I gave them space in the city behind. And this was a really nice day because I got so many nice pictures from it. And this in particular is a really nice, one of my favorite cheetah photos. Rule of thirds. So before I talk, this is the grid which you'd see in editing, where it splits your photo into thirds, basically. So there are three columns and 3 rows. Yeah, 3 columns and 3 rows. And what I try to do is position my subject in the either left third, right third, either the top left, bottom left, or top right and bottom right third of the image, which in this case gives you a sense of direction and curiosity as what is the lioness looking at, because she's staring into the valley. So what is she looking at? While the photo on the other side is an elephant or Jetta walking across the barren fields again, and this shows a sense of direction, as in where's the elephant walking from the left to the right, or he's positioned in the bottom left third, so that he's walking from the left to the right. That makes sense. And it leaves the other thirds, the remainder of the photo open to tell your story. Leading lines. Another little bonus, both of these are also really good. So leading lines are the lines that appear in the photo that have been positioned by the photographer to draw interest in the subject by using lines to create direction. So framing in photography refers to the technique of drawing focus to the eyes and the subject by blocking out other parts of the image with something in the scene. So the photo on the right is a subultimate lion in Masai Mara Reserve he was sitting inside a bush, and the way it was is he was inside and we had positioned the car so that there would be leaves and more leaves down here, which all brought the focus towards the eyes, which are in the very middle. And so I burnt out so I sort of overexposed the leaves so that all of the focus would go to his eyes. And the photo on the left is the late figure who passed away a little bit, I think last year. And she was sitting in a bush, so it kind of has the same effect, kind of has the same story as that, because like the foreground is all green, it's like a sea of green with a grayish beige leopard in the middle. And she was actually really lazy on that day, so that was the only photo I got of her with her eyes open. Patience. Yeah. So close up versus wide. Before I talk, which one do you guys prefer? Close up. Yeah. Okay. So the wide image is a lot more background compared to the close up. You can see the environment, you can see the foreground, the background, and the ground she's sitting on. While as the close up focuses on the details, so like you can see his feathers, the colors, you can see his eyes and the beak more clearly. While as in the other one, he is a part of the scene. He is the main subject of the scene. So with that, now do you still prefer the same, or has your opinion changed? Okay. So do I. Yeah.
With the close-up, are you also trying to pay attention to the rule of thirds, or no?
No. But that it happened because the subject is looking this way, so I positioned it in the top right. But yeah. Good pointing out. This is a photo of a cheetah called Nivati. She is a cheetah in Alarm Maternity Conservancy. And this, so let me talk about focus while I'm here. So if you have a subject which is pretty close to you, like say at auditions, you can focus on his eyes. While as say it's where my dad is, say you're not as close, you can focus on the face. And if it's like something like, I don't know, really far, like a blob in the frame, you can focus on the entire body because you have nowhere else to focus. So this it shows the details of the blood, teeth, the fur, and just the eyes. I don't know what you can tell, but there's actually, you can see the reflection of the grass in her eyes. And the whiskers. This is truly a very magnificent photo, and I'm waiting to get it printed on canvas. It's happening, hopefully.